And Zimtu's taken many companies public before, and this will be the next one.
I want to start by thanking everybody for coming to the Zimtu Appreciation Day. What we're going to have in the next hour and a bit, is a series of presentations, fireside chat with the CEOs of a variety of the companies that Zimtu has been involved with, either from a company creation standpoint, where we've supported entrepreneurs. It doesn't have to just be exploration mining entrepreneurs, but in some cases, technology companies. The opportunity for you to speak to any of these CEOs after is always available, and we'll be looking forward to making any introductions that you need. I'm going to start by introducing Dave Hodge, CEO of Zimtu. Dave's been doing a wonderful job over the last couple of decades of building, I would say, a very unique investment issuer. With that, Dave Hodge.
Certainly feels like many years of tilling the soil here. And I'm certainly happy to report that we have had a number of successes, and we continue to grow the portfolio of companies that Zimtu has created or is in the process of creating. Just comment on a few. Our plastic, our company that converts waste plastic, unsorted waste plastic to energy, called Aduro. I see they traded up over $1 today. Zimtu financed that with its shareholders at 5 cents. The first deal didn't work, so we had to roll it back 3 for 1. That put our people in at 15 cents. It's trading at $1 today. Likewise, we've had a number of other recent successes that came through our company creation program, and certainly Core Assets is. You'll hear from the president, Nick Rodway, a little bit later, and they've done extremely well, and certainly have indications that the future results are going to be. They're going to put British Columbia back on the mineral map. My name's Dave Hodge, and I promise you that, which I can't do, of course, but it's all about, we'll be out there, we'll be drilling that property, and the indications are that we're going to get some pretty spectacular results. We have a new listing coming out quite shortly, Eagle Bay. It's a rare earth exploration project here in British Columbia. I suppose I should, our latest endeavor is a gold project in Arizona. It was, and you really must see the video because it was in production many years ago when the markets were young and you were young. I was young, yeah. But the video, the promotional video that they made back in the day is hilarious. Because the end of the video shows the brokerage firm and all the brokers sitting at their desk looking at green screens and smoking. Certainly gives you an idea of the time. One of the things that Zimtu has been quite successful at doing is promoting our companies. And to that extent, we have an analyst out of Zurich named Stefan Wagner, writes under the name Rockstone Research, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about what he has on the go.
Thanks, Dave Hodge.
He was helping me out.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stefan Wagner, from Switzerland. Stefan, we're going to make you
Yes.
full screen, and I'm going to allow you to present wherever you want to go on discussions about the Zimtu companies that you've been covering and what it is that Rockstone does. Please.
Sure. Well, hello everybody from Zurich. Unfortunately, I couldn't come here this year, and I think it's a great event that Zimtu is putting up there with those 5-minute, 10-minute presentations where you can listen to the companies real quickly and then decide yourself which story you like the most. And yeah, I run rockstoneresearch.com. Let me share my screen here. Here you can see the website, and it's in German and in English. Everything, all the articles are in English and in German. And yeah, the latest articles that I did was on Zinc 8. It was on Friday, and also on Friday I did the Crown Minerals. So I did 2 reports on one day. And let's take a look at Zinc 8. They had a big news on Thursday. So I thought that I'm just going to summarize all the news that was going around and all the interviews that they did, the media coverage on Zinc 8. And yeah, it traded very well today in Germany. It traded 829,000 shares. And it's doing, yeah, well, it had a little bit of struggle the last days, but I think it has a really good opportunity over the long term. And Ron was there yesterday, and he spoke about the company and what's going on and what's next. And tomorrow, Tuesday, there's going to be a public hearing in New York about another grant of $10 million. And it could be that tomorrow it's going to be announced. At least the media is going to be there. Ron was saying that the press is going to be there. So we are hopeful that the public hearing is going to approve the $10 million tomorrow, and that there are going to be news on Wednesday. On Friday, I also did Crown Minerals, and before I did this report on Crown, I just took a brief look at the company, you know, and then I invested a little bit into this company and this current financing round. But let me tell you, after I did this report, I'm going to increase my position here a little bit more, because I'm really fascinated about this company, what's going on. And take a look at this report. I'm quoting a little bit from the technical report, which was done in 2021. And this technical report, it's recommending a phase 1 trenching and bulk sampling program to start with, and it's going to take about 8 weeks, and they are suggesting to bulk sample 6,000 tons of material at surface. It's oxide. You got to know that this mine is a classical underground mine, very high grade, but they also have oxide material at surface. And this phase 1 sampling program, it's proposing 6,000 tons. And historically, they had at surface like very high grade, half an ounce of gold. And with those grades, it would be like 6,000 tons. You can imagine it's about 3,000 ounces of gold, and they are like worth right now $5.8 million at the current gold price. And this program is it's estimated to cost about $500,000. So I think it's a really good opportunity that Zimtu is now investing into this deal, and they're doing this raise here right now at 5 cents with a full warrant at 7.5 cents. And hopefully they're going to do this bulk sampling program shortly, so they can get some cash here going on with this program. And of course, gold stocks are very in high demand, and they have a lot to go up. I took a look here how far they can go. And just when you look at the gold price compared to here in green, you have the junior gold stocks, and here you have the gold price. And there's a massive gap for the juniors to go up. So I think it's a great opportunity for gold stocks in general right now. And before that, I did here this company. It's called Winn. They have lithium in northern Canada, And it's also a very interesting exploration program they're doing right now, and preparing for a drill program. And here you can see that at the top where this project is here right now, that the dikes are very kind of small and thin, and you may think they only have like 5 meters of lithium. But when you go deeper, it's going to be hopefully much wider mineralization from this lithium. So that's why we are talking here about fingers, like where they sampled here at the outcrops. It's very thin, 5 meters, 10 meters. And then it's expected to be like a big body of lithium here. And because the mountains are very steep there, where you can see the pictures here at the bottom here, you may think this is like very hostile, but when you look at the picture like this here, it's possible that in the valley where it's flat, you could drill like horizontally, and then you meet this hand palm very easily. Core assets I also did in October. Another private company I'm very excited about is Aeonian Resources, and just take a look at their website. It's the most beautiful and most detailed website I've ever seen for any junior exploration company. Very much detail, a lot of love they put in there with their Geo Andy Randall. And it's really a very special kind of a deposit. It's a sediment-hosted copper deposits, and the big miners, they love those kinds of deposits, because they have like ore material which is also just a little bit thin, like I don't know, a meter or up to 5 meters, but it can run for like kilometers, and that's why the miners, they love it, because you can just follow this mineralization for a very long distance. And for example, in Poland, they have the same system going on, where and you probably know that Poland is was one of the biggest silver producers in the world, still is right now, and they're also following these kinds of flat running horizons which run for kilometers. And in Poland, it goes even to Germany all the way for 1,000 kilometers. In Africa, I believe there's also, in the Congo, it runs for hundreds of kilometers. And I'm not saying that they're going to find this in BC, but even if it's a couple 100 meters or a kilometer, it would be a great success for Aeonian. Other than that, I did Rockland. They are into lithium in Utah. Also very interesting company. I invested also in this one. Aeonian is also doing a private placement right now, and I believe they're closing very soon. And I'm also looking to top up my investments here. So yeah, take a look at this website. We have a newsletter here also you can subscribe for, either German, English, or both. And it's free. And whenever I do a report, I send out the report with the newsletter. I also, whenever there's good news or industry reports, I send it out with the newsletter. So it's a great way to be updated by the portfolio holdings from Zimtu, and yeah, stay up to date all the time. So thank you very much for your time. I think the next one is up already.
Thank you very much, Stefan.
Sure.
Thank you very much for that detailed introduction to Rockstone Research. We certainly are appreciative. Thank you. I know you got to run, so have a great day. Next on the docket is going to be Colton Griffith, and we're going to talk gold now. Pivot all the way to the United States, to a very favorable jurisdiction, I believe, top 5 in the world for doing mining exploration and mining, which would happen to be Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona has a deep history in gold mining, specifically going back to the 1800s. There's a gold rush, and that's kind of where this company came from. It's been in and out of production since the 1890s, and we're taking it back into production. So the company is Crown Minerals, and we're acquiring the previous project called the Gladiator Gold Mine. And it's a large project based in Arizona. It's about 65 miles north of Phoenix, and it's in the Yavapai County. I always mess it up. Yavapai County in Arizona. So like he said, one of the top 5 jurisdictions in the world for mining. It's a large project. It's about 2,300 acres. There's nine known veins on the property. One of them is the major focus currently, and that's the Gladiator Gold vein. The grades historically have been about 0.5 ounces per ton, which is wonderful. And we're raising money right now to go public. So we're still in the private stage. A lot of the companies you're talking to already have already gone public, but we're still private. And we're going to raise money to do our phase 1 bulk sampling program, which we're going to bulk sample 6,000 tons. And at a 0.5 ounce per ton, we should get about 3,000 ounces of gold. And then the revenue from that will be used to explore the rest of the project and go into phase 2, which includes underground mining. But like I said, it's a very large property, so there's a lot of room for more growth. And we're super excited. Everything is it's very early stage still. You know, we don't even have a website up yet. But we're all excited, and Zimtu's taken many companies public before, and this will be the next one. So yeah, it's Zimtu's newest offering, and the financing right now is at 5 cents for one share with a 7.5 cent warrant. It's a great opportunity with the warrant there. And then once we raise that, we'll apply to go public. So it should be within the next couple months, hopefully.
Thank you, Colton. Question.
How much are you trying to raise?
About 650,000 Canadian, and so the project was a past producing mine. So there's already a mill on site. There's a lot of infrastructure already on site. This is just to get that infrastructure back up to code, get everything ready to go. But that should only take this bulk sampling program, which is the first thing that we'll do, should only take about 8 weeks and should cost about 500,000.
And touch on how much that the sample should bring in revenue wise.
Yeah,
like estimated.
Yeah, you know, with the 3,000 ounces at the current price of gold, should be around $5.5–6 million
US.
in US. Yeah.
In the new way of looking at gold, can you use LiDAR to see where the veins are? Or?
Well, you can speak on that.
Well, you know, neither Colton and I are technically minded in terms of a geoscientist or a geologist or engineer. However, there is a terrific amount of actual exposure, first of all, that we'll be taking the immediate advantage of with the, extensive portals, adits, drifts that are available. You know, a lot of mapping will be redone, a lot of panel sampling of those. There's actually some columns in there that will definitely be very rich to pull out and would be replaced with engineered support. And there's just so many venues to utilize these days that yes, there's going to be new techniques to help us pinpoint where we want to be drilling topside as well as underground. But the team that we have at Zimtu is more on the go public side. The management that is vending are going to continue to be supported by us, and they're metallurgists, they're engineers, and they live in Arizona, not too far away from the project is. So thankfully, we've got some advantages. We don't have to travel. We're going to, complement each other skill sets. And I've recently picked up a great deal of data from a PhD geologist named Stuart Jackson, who I bumped into fortuitously recently at one of the shows. And Stu was best friends with the father of the current CEO, who's passed now. But he said, Jason, I've got 5 pounds of data from this whole region. And would you like it? And absolutely put up our hand and said, yes, we will take that from you. And in fact, would you mind being interviewed so that we can encapsulate all of your historical time on the property? And I think that's an incredible find for us at Zimtu. And again, thanks to Zimtu for providing that sort of access through just all the relationships that's developed over the last 20 years. So Stu, if you're listening, I'm going to be inviting you to be the advisory board member. You are, I know, trying to retire, but to get people with gray hair like that have walked a great deal of that property. And, I'm not going to go into details of what he told me, but I was needlessly to say, I was very elated by what he thinks the prospectivity for a specific style of deposits are down there and some of the opportunities for what he thinks we should be looking for. So
one of the things I always think when you go back into a historical dig is our new technology of today can help us find more that we couldn't find in the days past.
And it's specifically relevant for these guys too, because back in the day when they were producing, I mean, the grades that they could actually get out of it, like they had to stop a lot of the mining. There's a lot of piles left over, as Jason has mentioned before. There's lots of piles of dirt there's plenty of gold in there that they can go into. So the new technology is going to be a big help.
Worth mentioning, because, I think we need to just spell that out. I mean, the Crown King mine, which is within our boundaries, the extension of the vein, on the, both patent and BLM land that we've secured, produced, what was it? 1 million tons, 500,000 ounces.
Wow.
So, you can do some parallels to what you've seen up in Val d'Or and some of the other regions around the world. It is technically challenging underground mining, but as you point out, the technology today has provided a great deal of advancement for everything from ore sorting to topside discovery tools. So yeah, great comments. And if you've got any technologies we should be aware of, we're all ears.
Get all the new stuff. Thank you.
No problem. If you guys have any questions, come meet with me. There's a Rockstone Research report was done on Friday. So it goes about 15 to 20 pages of detailed information on the history of the area and what we've got coming. So yeah.
You're welcome to participate. Friends and family, credit investors. Welcome. Thanks very much for your time. You're welcome to join us. I'm going to bring up next Buddy Doyle, representing Lakewood. Buddy, good to see you again. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
I like lithium as well, buddy. Diamonds is definitely something that we need to spend some time working hard to build the awareness of again. But lithium seems to be one of those commodities that everybody's talking about. And to that end, I understand that this project was actually somewhat forgotten about in a vehicle, and with management changes, sometimes opportunities occur. And maybe you can speak about that.
Sort of inherited, it used to be called Equatorial and had this property in it. We sort of inherited it, change of management. And we actually drilled in Manitoba during COVID and, hit gold. So sort of a gold discovery in Manitoba, but gold was down. So we started getting calls saying, you guys have got a lithium property. And we went, oh yeah, we do. And looked into it. And this is a really good lithium property. So yeah, it was a funny way of inheriting, but sometimes in this game, timing is everything. Mm-hmm. And there's been 3 lithium booms. This one, I think, will sustain because so many people are saying no more internal combustion engines by 2030, 2035. You need a lot of lithium mines to achieve that. This thing is 13. It's sort of one of the type localities in the world for these lithium, cesium, tantalum pegmatites. There's a bunch of papers on it. It's held up as a type locality globally of what these things look like. And it was drilled in the 90s and the early 2000s for tantalum. And they didn't even assay for lithium. And those drill holes were sited on tantalum in the soil anomalies. And they hit tantalum. And when Equatorial had it, they reassayed the core, and sure enough, there's lithium. So I like having the tantalum there. It's worth money to me. There's enough there. If you mine it, the mining is if we get to that stage, the mining is for free, and that you get the lithium for free, and tantalum pays for the mining. There's also cesium, which hasn't got a big market, but it's worth something, and tin. So tantalum, tin will separate easier if we get to that stage, and pays for the lithium. That's the way I look at it.
Question: what stage are you at then? Have you done some exploration work recently?
A dozen holes not targeted at lithium, and then in 2016 there was some channel sampling targeted at the better lithium soil anomalies and with previous rock chips, and they got some decent results at 3%, but best being 5 meters at 3%. So very decent results, and that's it. So it's 15 Ks of lithium pegmatite dike swarms. We have 13 Ks of it. There's another group that staked to the north called, I think they're IPOing or have IPO'd LIFT lift.
Oh yes,
are next door to us. But we've got the majority of the swarm. That's always good having neighbors we can co-promote. If they do well, we do well, and vice versa. So yeah, we started straight, as soon as we raised money on it, we started a program where we're flying a lot of people say these things aren't geophysical, but we're trying out this new technology proven technology with a squid superconducting interference device magnetometer. And it's about 3 orders of magnitude more sensitive than the cesium, which is what everyone else has been using, what the industry has been using for 20, 30 years. And this ultra sensitivity, you get reports back that shows up structure and it really maps very subtle changes in geology. So we got 25% of that data back, and unfortunately they flew the bird into a cliff. It's been towed unmarried. So it went home, but it's coming back this week to finish the survey by the end of February. But tantalizingly, where we see the trend in the dike swarms, we touch the bottom and we can see stuff in the magnetics that lines up with that trend. And then there's another trend that there's another magnetic trend, whether that's pegmatite's not. We need to send field crews out. But we're seeing another beautiful parallel trend that we have, if it is pegmatite, be pretty exciting. We have to get field crews out. We're also doing a satellite radar survey where they use 2 different satellites and use that to cancel out the noise. You can look beneath the surface from space. They've showed me examples of other commodities. It's the first time to be used in pegmatites, but these are definitely structurally controlled. So we see that data on Thursday. We've done a road study. The property's only 5 km on a bulldoze track and 12 km on a all-weather road. So we've done a study, so we're ready to permit a road if we get some excitement. We've started permitting, well underway. We should have permits this month, and the plan is to drill in summer. And we've already, I think Stefan said it's in a mountain, but the mountain's very dome-shaped, flat topped. And the previous drill holes were at the top. But the mountain has had glaciation in the past, and there's several cirques, U-shaped bellies with 300-meter walls. And that's where those channel samples came from those walls. We plan to drill at the bottom of these cirques. And drilling at the top, there were like 5-kilometer water lines. And at the bottom, there's water. And Stefan also mentioned the idea of a hand. So they were drilling up here. We hope to come down below and get into the hand if it exists. At least go and look.
I see the tie-in with your logo, actually.
Yeah.
Somebody planned that out, it looks like.
Yeah. So that's I can't wait. Exciting week. Well, I'm a diamond guy, gold guy, porphyry copper guy. I've actually looked at one pegmatite in the past, but I'm a geologist and it's easy. You use the same principles, and we'll be using Archer Cathro, who have the guys that actually did the channel sampling, who wrote the 43-101. So we'll be using experts, no skin off my nose.
That's wonderful.
I'm all ears. Yeah.
Well, buddy, grateful for your time today. We're going to try to stay on schedule.
Yeah.
Buddy Doyle will be available for any conversations, any follow-up questions you might have in the other rooms.
Yeah.
Buddy, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Yes.
I'm going to be asking now that Brandon Haynes of Aeonian come up and join me. Hi, Brandon.
Hi, Jason.
Very good.
Very good.
I think
We also
we're gonna
have Andy Randall, our
Yes.
pro-geo and founder, here as well.
Terrific. Andy, thank you so much for joining us. I think you're in the interior of BC. So
I am indeed, yeah.
I appreciate you making some time. You're right close to where your properties are that you and Brandon have been focused on. And might first of all, just start by saying copper in BC, a well-known commodity that's been explored. What is your theory that you're pursuing in order to make the next discovery in copper?
Well, we started poking around in the Cranbrook area for gold. Funny enough, down south of Cranbrook, Gold Creek and Gold Road, all those areas you think you're going to find gold. And when we got down there, we found out that we were just looking at paleoplacer gold, but started to pick up some interesting rocks with copper mineralization in the sediments there. So we expanded our search a little bit and went from 4 claims to an area now that's 170 square kilometers with at least 4 beds of mineralized sediments in there with copper or copper silver cobalt combinations in there. And yeah, we're spreading our way up the Columbia Valley. Basically, we've taken a brand new model and applied it to this area, and yeah, we're finding some really good copper deposits.
Terrific. Andy, might I ask, are there similarities between any existing operations for copper north or south of you? Just to give people some context of whether or not you're in a zone of interest that's already been somewhat explored and developed and proved.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so if we take the same bed, so we're in really old geology here. We're in 1.4 billion year old rocks. These are some of the oldest rocks in British Columbia. Also hosts things like the famous Sullivan mine are in this basin. But of significance to us is a certain unit called the Creston Formation, which if we follow that to the south into Montana, this Creston Formation, they locally call it the Rivette Formation there, and that's actually what hosts the Hecla copper mines. So the three big strata-bound copper mines down there, Spar Lake, the Troy, and the Montador mines. So we've got the analogy, and we've also got now similar mineralogy and similar geochemistry, and right here in BC.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot about you. You're very active in your community up there. So thank you for all that you're doing to help the children along, help bring mining to a younger generation. Grateful for that. I think it's much needed. Brandon, if I could just switch to you and just ask you where the company is at present. You're
Sure.
private. You're about to look at, I guess, doing a non-offering prospectus. Is that
That's
correct?
right. Just a quick point of interest. Andy and I had known each other for a little while on social media, and we met at Roundup last year in person. I looked over Kukanusa and I was very excited. And I said, Andy, do not sell this off to another company to make millions off of this. Let's make those millions ourselves. And so we both agreed. And here we are a year later. We've got our distribution done.
Mhm.
So we've fit that. We're just raising $350,000 more at 5 cents with a warrant at 10. After that, Lee Jones Gable is stepping in to be our lead agent. We looked at the prospectus filed by about the end of March, and we're hoping to get listed and trading in May.
Okay.
So
Well, we know there's all sorts of caveats that go along with going public, but I'm sure that with the support of Lead, so thank you, Lead, for being here today and supporting Aeonian. I'm very excited to see how you guys do with your exploration program. And can you talk about the field program coming up perhaps this spring?
We've got a couple of options. I mean, one good thing about the Kukanusa area and this area that we're in right now is we've got a very long field season. So we can start doing our work probably in the next couple of weeks, right the way through till November. We recently increased our land package. So we've got about 70 square kilometers of ground that we need to go out and do the basic mapping, sampling work on that we did on the rest of the property. But we also have the opportunity this year. This is still kind of in the works, but it looks like we may get a drill permit for part of the project this year as well. So a very accelerated program going from 2 years ago having the 4 small claims to 2 years time having 170 square kilometers drill permitted and all these really good copper targets was to chase. And I don't know if anybody came to see us at Roundup at the show there, but it was the first time we'd been out in public and had the rocks on the table, and I think that was the thing that changed a lot of people's mind, and certainly mine. It made it very legitimate and very it was very exciting to talk to people. We had a lot of majors come along as well and look at the rocks. So it's we've de-risked it as much as we can, and looking forward to very wisely spending money that we raise and getting out there.
So when you say majors, that just beckons a question for me. Is that to say that majors are getting back into the supporting these juniors at this early stage again, or are you too early? Or
no, they see us as cheap and an upside potential of being the next sedimentary hosted copper mine in the world. There's only 14 of them out there, and we look to be number 15. So I can't say exactly who we met with, but one of them is talking earn-in interest of up to 10%, where they bring their expertise, exploration and drills, and do that work for us.
their budget is important.
Another one has told us, get in on our Explorer fund that we have and apply for that in October. You can have up to $500,000. Another one that's very focused on copper. We've also met with a couple of times. They're looking at having their footprint in with the company. So it's very gratifying for a private co to have major interest at this stage.
Fantastic. Well, to both of you, thank you very much for making time
Jason.
out of your Sunday. We're looking forward to having you back in a couple of hours to do this once again. And all the best to you, both of you. Congratulations on the hard work that you've done already.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Andy.
Bye, Andy.
Bye.
Chris Grove of Commerce Resources, I think, which is the largest undeveloped rare earth deposit in North America. And I'm going to let you repeat it, so I'm just not grasping into the ether. I believe you're sitting on a mountain of an opportunity.
I totally agree with you, JB. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
So you've been with this project for quite some time, since its initial staking. Is that right?
Yes. And, to go back a little further, the Zimtu team and yours truly took a look at the rare earth element sector in 2005. And there had not really been an opportunity to work on a rare earth element project outside of China after China had dominated the commodity and forced essentially the closure of the only rare earth element mine in North America, which was Mountain Pass in California. And the Chinese domination of the commodity, lowering the global prices of rare earth elements, and then also the environmental issues that the operation of Mountain Pass had in the early 2000s forced that mine to close in 2002. So there were about 3 quiet years where nobody in their right mind would have been looking at advancing a rare earth element project. But then in the summer of 2005, China imposed an export duty, which is, so June of 2005, imposed an export duty, creating a 2-tiered pricing system. So everybody and their dog moved facilities into China to access the cheaper price domestic feedstock. That 2-tiered pricing system was declared illegal by the WTO in 2012. 7 years later, way to go, WTO. Fast acting, very fast acting. But ultimately, everybody who's anybody in rare earth elements moved facilities into China. And Beijing did this basically to continue their political standing to political stability by creating more jobs for Chinese citizens. And so the world's largest players in rare earth elements, Solvay, the world's largest processor, moved and set up 2 facilities in China. Hitachi, the world's owner of the dominant recipe for making permanent magnets, set up facilities, manufacturing facilities in China. And we, for the first time, took a look at rare earth elements. The thing is that, as Mike just mentioned, we had a history in our Blue River project, which is a set of carbonatite hosted deposits. And so we quickly realized that the world's production of rare earth elements was significantly dominated by carbonatite hosted sources. So we went out looking for a rare earth element primary deposit hosted in a carbonatite. And it did take us 5 years to find that. So we actually staked the ground in Quebec in 2007, found the surface expression of the ashram in 2009, and did a drilling program in 2010 and released the first discovery hole in August of 2010. That was a long answer. I'm sorry.
Not to worry. Can you give some perspective as to how much now, after this exploration that you've been doing for many, many years, you've taken the project to? And what's the viability that it appears to have?
Great. Yeah, thank you. So the deposit right now is not just the largest deposit of its type in North America. It's the largest deposit of its type on planet Earth, which is to say it is a carbonatite and with the dominant mineral monazite. That is extremely important because monazite dominant material always has the higher percentage of what the market most highly values, which are the 4 rare earth elements used in magnet manufacturing. So Commerce Resources has for the last 10 months been producing the world's most valuable rare earth element concentrate. In comparison to our material, Mountain Pass Materials, MP Materials, is again in operation, and they're producing and selling a concentrate that they can only currently sell to China, and they get about $8,000 USD per ton for that material. The concentrate we've been producing is worth about $12,000 per ton because of our significant increase of those 4 rare earth elements used in magnet manufacturing. Ultimately, this production of this most valuable concentrate has brought in the interest of a dozen global majors, and we have a lot of them under non-disclosure agreements right now. The world's largest, Solvay, has requested, and I wrote a letter that they want to use with the European Union and the French government, where they asked me to state, which I was happy to state, that we would find it attractive for us to partner with them. Now, in terms of the European Union, they have put earmarked something over 200 billion euros for critical minerals. And so I think Solvay is attempting to get some of that 200 billion euros. So ultimately, right now, we have more industry interest in our asset than we have ever had before, coming from our production of the most valuable concentrate being produced on the planet today.
Terrific. How are your relationships in Quebec? Because this is a Quebec-based opportunity. It's a little bit off of the beaten path. I'm assuming you've worked very well with the locals as well as the Quebec government. Can you speak maybe to that, and as well your technical team? I understand your technical team has made several recent discoveries, including the Patriot battery metals, and they're just south of where your deposit is. So it sounds like you've got and acquired quite a momentum of individuals who believe in this ashram deposit becoming what it should be.
Absolutely.
Like a mine.
Absolutely. So the government of Quebec put $1 million into the company in 2017. Before that, the government of Quebec, or the fund Investissement Quebec, arranged a series of meetings, a schedule of meetings for me in New York City during the SME conference, the Society for Mining, Metallurgy, and Exploration. At any rate, in New York, the fund manager for Investissement Quebec, really nice guy named Denny Williams, who is now retired. We went into a meeting, I believe, with the bank BNP Paribas, and he said, "We're the Quebec government. We're the largest shareholder in Stornoway Diamonds, and we built them a 200-kilometer long road. This is Commerce Resources. We're going to put $1 million into them, and we're going to build them a 200-kilometer long road." And then he said, "Chris, why don't you have the road we built for Stornoway highlighted on your map of Quebec?" And so we did. So if you see any presentation from Commerce Resources, you'll notice this road at the center of the province of Quebec highlighted in orange, which is the haul road that the government of Quebec financed for Stornoway. Stornoway paid for the road ultimately out of profits, and then Stornoway essentially was acquired by the government of Quebec. But yes, we're in a very good position with the government of Quebec. They have repeatedly said they want to increase their position in Commerce Resources. And yes, they've repeatedly said that they would finance the road in our area, which is definitely music to our ears. It hasn't happened yet. But having said that, now the Canadian government has, in the most recent budget in April of last year, there was $3.8 billion put aside for critical minerals projects, including $1.5 billion in a program under Transport Canada to build infrastructure for critical minerals projects. And yes, we've had 2 meetings with Transport Canada. Actually, this morning, I received a letter from the Minister of Natural Resources, Jonathan Wilkinson, whom I met accidentally at the Dorval Trudeau Airport in May of last year, as we were delayed for 5 hours for our flights. And I had a brief chat with Minister Wilkinson at that point, and I somehow wrote down his executive assistant's email wrong. But I did send them an email finally correcting that email in December, and he was responding to my email of December 9th. And we do have a meeting with his office coming up next week as well. So anyways, I'm very optimistic that either Canada or Quebec will finance this road. But yes, we're very well supported by Quebec.
And the Indigenous nations.
Well, the Indigenous people in Nunavut, the dominant social group, are the Inuit. And that is in the area called Nunavik, which is the top third of Quebec. Nunavik is where the James Bay Northern Quebec Agreement was signed into law in 1975, followed by the Northeastern Quebec Agreement signed into law in 1978. These two agreements are literally the most codified mechanisms for advancing a mineral project in North America. It makes a huge fundamental difference in Nunavik over having a project in the southern two-thirds of Quebec, where, because of a new municipal requirement for an environmental and social impact assessment, which was put in a bylaw about 10 years ago, is the reason that the Fraser Institute dropped Quebec from the #1 most attractive mining jurisdiction in the world down to #6. But that doesn't affect Nunavik. Nunavik doesn't have that additional requirement. So arguably, Nunavik should be in the #1 or #2 spot on planet Earth for mining friendly jurisdiction. The other side of it are the Inuit are represented by two corporations. And 4 years ago, we were successful in getting a letter of intent signed between those two corporations and Commerce Resources. And so we meet regularly to update them on the developments on the project.
Fantastic. So in terms of actual work on the ground, it sounds like you've satisfied all of your interests. You've done, I'm sure, a bunch of condemnation drilling. You've kind of working on your final bankable feasibility or pre-feas. Maybe just speak to that and what you can maybe just thread out to us in terms of where you see that coming.
Sure.
Even though it's not finalized yet. I think it's coming.
So as I mentioned, we have this resource, which is 1.6 million tons measured, 29 million tons indicated, and 220 million tons inferred. That was based on the 15,000 meters we did up until 2012. We have now doubled that drill data on the deposit. So far as yet, we've actually been unsuccessful in the condemnation holes. What I mean to say is that every time we do a step out hole, we keep on hitting mineralization. So our current geological model for the resource is approximately 700 meters north to south, 350 meters east to west, and we have drilled it with consistent mineralization from surface to below 600 meters. 700 meters, 350 meters, 600 meters. So we're talking at a minimum 250 million tons with the last resource, but I can't say what the next resource will show. In terms of all of the environmental work and things like that, we were awarded the highest award for best corporate practices, including social programs and the environmental work by the Quebec Mining Association in 2015. This award sits out there. It's kind of an odd, very heavy metal award. It's called the E3 Plus Award, but we were awarded that in 2015. We have an environmental and sustainability manager. I don't know how many juniors out there have an environmental and sustainability manager, but we do, who actually happens to be married to our project manager. But at any rate, yes, we're very, very conscious of those issues that could occur for the best project down the road. And so we want to take care of those issues as early as possible. And I believe we have done that. Did I answer your question?
Not really. I'm trying to understand what the possible valuation would be put on this asset. I mean, is this a 25-year life, 50-year life, 75-year life?
Okay, got it. So the material we've been producing, which I said is worth about $12,000 a ton. Our intent is to take 50,000 tons of that to market per annum, i.e. gross revenue of $600 million per annum. And we have the resource to do that for over 110 years right now. So I believe that is $60 billion in situ value of the resource without including any byproducts. And we also have produced commercially marketable acid-grade fluorspar. We have a 7% on average distribution of fluorite in our deposit, which actually makes us the world's second largest defined fluorspar resource, with approximately 16 million tons of fluorite or fluorspar. So we've been approached. We actually had a 5-year MOU with Glencore, who approached us for the fluorspar. And in that 5-year period, a very significant sea change happened with the fluorspar market, which then was echoed by the same change in the rare earth element market, which is that China used to be the dominant exporter of fluorspar, but they became a net importer of fluorspar in 2017, followed a year later by China becoming a net importer of rare earth elements. So in terms of value right now, we are working on a flow sheet, which we had developed at the world's oldest R&D facility called UVR-FIA at the University of Freiberg outside of Dresden in Germany. And this is an incredible flow sheet where the economic metrics are, by our internal calculation, are vastly superior to the metrics we had in our PEA, which had a pre-tax NPV of $2.3 billion and a pre-tax internal rate of return of 44%. So to improve on that, we're very excited.
Well, with that sums up the opportunity for us. I mean, I don't believe your market has reflected any of this amazing work that you and your team have been doing over the last almost 15 years, I guess. I look forward to what's going to happen in the coming months and years for Commerce. Thank you so much. I know we could spend another half an hour up here easily, but we do have to move on and jump up to Eagle Bay. Mike Shush, you're close, man. So thank you very much, Mike.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. I do, of course. We're working together.
Yeah.
One of the long-term prospectors here in British Columbia that has got quite a lineage with this rare Rocky Mountain.
Well, even
belt
with
trend.
the Commerce and Dave Hodge and Zimtu and things like that. I mean, we are a rare earth company, which is kind of puts us in. Also, there's Commerce, which is also a rare earth project, much more advanced than what we're working on. But I'll just sort of say, because Chris is probably going to be coming up, and we sort of do 1-2 kind of presentations, and nobody can do rare earths better than Chris on
Chris Grova, Commerce
Chris Grova,
Resources, who Michael's work.
Commerce. That's part of this, but there is a special expertise, I think, with Zimtu Group, mainly with the technical people, including myself, Jody DeRouge, everybody at
DeRouge and Associates, who
yeah,
helped put together the
Yeah.
Patriot battery metals
yeah,
discovery. Is that
Yeah.
the one we're talking
yeah,
about?
yeah. Well, yeah, the
Yeah.
PMET thing. Yeah.
Well, Darren
That's-
Smith is involved with Patriot, and I'd like to say and point out that you've managed to attract Darren Smith into Eagle Bay.
Yeah.
So he's helping you guys.
Well, one of the things is PMET was one of the Zimtu companies, and I don't know what it's trading at today, $12,
14, I think.
14. Yeah. Anyways, and it was a nickel company that was done, 4 years ago now.
Less than that even.
Yeah. But anyways, just going back with the expertise on, say, rare earths, and I was part of the guys that first put together the actual Blue River property that started Commerce. What year was that, Chris?
1999.
1999. So that's how far. I was doing rare earths before that, and they were starting to catch on in Ontario, and a friend of mine who's passed away had this land package. It was his father's land package, and then one of the things is with mining properties and stuff, a lot of it is second, third generation. Like you have to be a prospector, which is basically what I am. Is that we started specializing in the rare earth stuff way back in the 90s, because number one, it was kind of like now where the market was bad for juniors, and tantalum and all the high-tech stuff was in vogue, just like right now, lithium. I mean, everybody wants to hear lithium, doesn't matter what it is or whatever. Well, that was the same back in the early 90s and stuff, but so we put together that land package, which started Commerce, which basically Commerce spawned Zimtu. So kind of the rare earth and the specialty metals has been something that really Zimtu was born on, and we still focus on. And I'm pretty happy to say that I think the Zimtu group, as far as on rare earths and tantalum and stuff like that, I think we're some of the best guys in the world. You know, I don't want to sit there and
I appreciate that. I'm
best.
sure Dave Hodge enjoys hearing that as much as Jody DeRouge. I really want to get an opportunity to hear, though, about where we are with Eagle Bay. I understand this is a company that's close to a major discovery that's just been kind of kicking off with incredible drill results. And what are we looking for? Is it
Well,
the same
part
opportunity or different?
Oh, yeah, well, it's early stage. We're in the second sort of stage of getting reference from the Securities Commission. So I would expect we'd be up and trading before May.
We'll see.
I hope so.
It's dependent upon their.
We're right next to Defense Metals, which is now has been established now with a bona fide, very major rare earth project. And John Robbins has just joined their advisory board and is one of their biggest shareholders. And I don't know if you know John Robbins, but John Robbins is a really named guy that's financed a lot of mines in production. And there's another fellow, Dale Walster, who's a friend of mine that we've done a lot of stuff. There's just like the right guys that got money now have caught on to it. And that's starting to go. I mean, it was 18 cents January 1st. It hit 32 cents on good volume. A lot of it because John Robbins coming. Anyways, we have ground that's now in Eagle Bay that was actually staked by Commerce back in, my memory's getting bad throwing out these dates, but about 14 years ago. And it sort of went through a company I was involved with, and then now it's into Eagle Bay. And it's very key ground. We drilled 20 holes on it in 2010 and 11. We hit rare earths in every hole, considering that was their first stage exploration. That's pretty good, on a property that's never been drilled. And what Defense Metals now is coming up with a world-class, basically rare earth deposit. Metallurgy's good, mineralogy's good. And we've got the key ground right there with a lot of good targets. We are in 2010, 11, we drilled 20 holes in a company that I was running at the time. And so there's probably been about 3.5 million spent on it already. And I would say high quality work, very good technical people did the work. So we've got we're at a stage now we can just really go into it drilling right away.
Well, that speaks, Mike, to the next steps for Eagle Bay. We are seeing the company do a financing, or I think it's shelved right now pending the approval of the.
Well, we've got
the non-offering prospectus,
yeah.
And then after that, the idea is to get out into the field, hopefully as quickly as possible. And what sort of field work would you be doing? What sort of technical analysis are you doing today?
Well, I think we would fill in on a bunch of some of the. One of the things is we have a deposit. The Defense Metals deposit is about 400 meters from our property boundary. So one of the things we're going to do is a legal survey right on the property boundary, because we know about where it is, but now we're getting to a point where they're going to be building a mine and doing a feasibility study. So all of a sudden, where that property boundary is going to be very important. And also too, that we've got a lot of rare earth intercepts on it, and we're really getting into the real estate game now. It's going to be kind of interesting. It's good because this was the Defense Metals project was an orphan. It was a private company for a long time. It was funded by a group of investors, mining investors out of Prince George, sophisticated mining investors. They were no rush in going public, and now it went public about 2 years ago.
2018, I think it was.
Yeah, 2018. But now it's starting to get where people understand, hey, this is something real. So it's pretty exciting. Our timing on it is pretty good.
Okay.
We're all of a sudden now the technology metals are in focus, and it's a great property.
Okay. Well, Mike, I want to try to keep us on schedule if I could. I want to make sure that people understand that he's available out in the lobby in the various offices for follow-up discussions. We've got some beautiful radiometrics and charts.
Well, there's a lot. We like I said, we generated about $4 million worth of data. I have all of it. I know all of it intimately. It's a lot of fun when you got stuff that's really good, and it's good, and you're going public. So
fantastic.
Anyways,
Mike Shush, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
Mike Hodge, thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.
Appreciate you making time out of your Sunday to do this fireside chat. The fire's not on, but I think it's too warm in here anyway, so that's fine. We have the goods here with you, Mike. I appreciate the fact that Saville's working very hard and diligent on a project that they've JV'd with Commerce, actually. So it's fitting that we just had the president just speak about his focus right now on the rare earths. Mike, if you could just speak a little bit about what Saville has been doing over the last little while. I understand you had a pretty vibrant work program recently. In addition to that, you've just started to get some results out, and maybe put that into some context. I don't think your market price really reflects what you're doing and all the hard work you're doing, but let's share with the audience what it is that you've done.
Yeah, so our last drill program was about 300 meters, and we pulled out some significant niobium numbers. We had almost 0.8% over 16 meters, which is almost double what the other producers in Quebec, their average grade is. Something significant about Saville's project is it's a pyrochlore hosted niobium deposit. That's one of the only ways niobium comes out economically in North America.
Okay. And with respect to the work, you said you did 300 meters of drilling?
It was roughly.
Yeah, I understand you had some lengthy delays at the lab, unfortunately. That must have been frustrating for you. Everything's worked out there though now. So are there any more results coming at this juncture, or are we now making plans for the next phase?
We're making plans for the next phase. Unfortunately, there was a long delay, and then there was a bit of a mess up at the lab, but we took care of all of that, reassayed some things, and got the numbers as accurate as possible.
Okay, terrific. And again, your JV with Commerce is to earn 75%?
That's right. And it's just about up. So
okay, so maybe perhaps renegotiations are in order or are going to be required, I should say.
That's right.
Okay. Well, Mike, I know that there's a great deal of interest in that general area. You're sharing camp, I guess, with Commerce, is that right?
We do.
Okay, so there's some economics that have been born out of the relationship, which I'm sure has been helpful for the shareholders. But having a share price, stretched thin because of the lack of news and activity, I'm sorry to say it's probably a bit disheartening. However, the whole opportunity with these juniors is to find a way through. So I know you'll do that, and we're here supporting you. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
John McDonald, I've kept you waiting all the way in New York. I'm very, very sorry that you've had to be patient, but I appreciate it so much. And the reason being is, Ron, you've got a whole lot of information to share about how Zinc 8 Energy Solutions has been moving forward in the past year, but more importantly, where it's going to be in a year's time from now. And Ron, again, maybe just set the stage about where you came in, where the company's at, and what's coming around the corner, because there's just so much. And again, you don't have to hit it all, but certainly the salient points I think you want to deliver is what we're ready to hear about.
Okay, thanks very much, Jason. So I'm not going to go through the whole story of the company, but I want to position it so that we all understand what is the opportunity that we have with a plan. So we're a zinc air battery. We are no thermal runaway. We don't have any capacity fade. All of the material that you need for this battery can be sourced within the NAFTA, the old NAFTA. And that is a big thing with the US government. Security supply chains for all commodities right now, dealing with pretty much any US production, particularly over in renewables, is a big problem. We approached, because I'm a recovering politician, Jason. So I said, we need to take this political. And so we started about a year ago, and we got in with Chuck Schumer's office at the lower level and worked our way up, thanks to the Canadian consulate and things like that. And when they finally did realize that, because the first big issue the US had was on security of supply. That was about a year and a half ago. So we went in and we said, look at the tech. They had a big tech team. They did a deep dive. They loved it. They loved what we were doing, the fact that we could produce everything in North America. So we've had 3 years of really, really, really good traction in the US and particularly in New York I'm just going to quickly go through New York Power Authority, Innovation Challenge 2.5 years ago. We're going to be building that battery out with New York Power Authority. It's the largest public utility in the United States. There's 200 companies that drop submissions in for non-lithium 6 hour and above. We're the last one standing. That will be installed in second quarter of 2024. It's going to be at Buffalo University. Buffalo University is one of 32 campuses of New York universities, and it's the sustainability campus. So it gives us an opportunity to have a pipeline. Then we had NYSERDA funded project in Queens, and that one is second quarter of next year. These are big batteries. That one is a 15-hour battery. It's 100 kilowatts, and it's going to support 3 mid-rise buildings on a campus of buildings that's got, I think, 32 in total. So we've got that. But the other thing that's happened that's really working here, New York City, New York State, I think is leading the globe by way of policy and putting their money where their mouth is to say that we've got to decarbonize. And so they've come up with a thing called Local Law 97. It's the most aggressive requirements anywhere in the globe for decarbonizing the buildings in New York City. So any building over 25,000 square foot has got a requirement with heavy penalties to decarbonize by as much as 40% initially starting in 2030 and as high as 80% by 2034. And so they had a challenge again, but what are the technologies out there that can help get to those numbers? We won that challenge. So we won it. We had everybody do it. The fire department in New York, everybody voted for us. So we were in good stead. We also were accepted at New York University in their urban project and Urban Future Lab. And that was an incubator of only 20 companies from all over the world. So New York again did it to us. Then we were New York State for the accelerator program for manufacturing. They only picked 12 people, 12 companies. We were it. And then the last big thing is that the real estate board in New York, all faced with these massive changes in their building investments that they need to make. And they had I think about 5-6 months ago, an innovation challenge, and they picked us as the best in class to help New York buildings. So you're dealing with real estate developers, probably $500 billion to $1 trillion. So New York has been very good to us, okay? New York gave us our start. They supported us all through the way. Last year, I started to tell you about Chuck Schumer. I'm going to bring you right up to date as quick as I can. And they had just passed the Infrastructure Act. There was $60 billion to encourage companies like ours to come into the United States and to manufacture. That's a lot of money. And so, we're dealing with his office, and one day I was here in New York at 6:30 in the morning. I got a call saying, you got 20 minutes to talk to Senator Schumer? And I did. We had a good 45-minute conversation. And so within weeks, this thing called the Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA, which was dead as a duck. It was not going to pass. And between a Thursday, because Senator Manchin was holding up between a Thursday and a Tuesday, they came to a compromise. They passed it. This is globally changing investment patterns. So we looked at this. There's a thing called 45X. And what it is, it's a change to the tax code. And it says that any manufacturer of cells that go into an energy storage system gets a transferable refundable tax credit against their production of $45 US. That is a game changer. So we had projected healthy profits because all of our materials are really cheap and because we scale independently. We put that on top of it, and it is a driver for me. Every day I get up and I do my 45X. On production targets that we hope to reach by 2027, that would give me $278 million in additional revenue. And over a 5-year period, because you can only claim it for 5 years, on a static, we've got really conservative, it could be over $2.4 billion. So that's how I'm trying to plan to protect and support my shareholders. There's nothing like this anywhere in the globe. So we announced, I was with Senator Schumer the day that this bill actually passed here in New York. He asked me to fly in, and I was there with him when this whole program was announced. We've been working with New York State a lot. These things take years in planning. So with New York State, we started almost 2 years ago. And so we just finished that process up. And I was in New York, I still am, on Thursday to do a pretty significant announcement with Governor Hochul, and it's $9 million US. It is an incentive for us to come and to solidify our plans to manufacture in New York. So on Thursday, I announced, first we said the US, now we're saying New York. And, concurrent with that, there is another public hearing, which is taking place on Tuesday with the Ulster County Industrial Development. And we have made an application to them. It's a public, they put it out in the public, so I can say it here, for a lot of sales tax relief. But in addition to the sales tax relief, we're looking at a 10 million US non-taxable bond. And so I've had 4 hearings already. This is the public hearing on Tuesday, and the board unanimously recommended that it be supported at the public hearing. So the reason I'm telling you this is to move a company like this forward, you got to build, it's no different than building a mine. When you're in the exploration stages, you know what it takes, but if you get to a point that you're going to have to develop it, you've got to be innovative so you don't, really dilute your shareholders. So you have to be innovative. Mining companies, they do JVs all the time. So for us, we're building a capital stack over the next couple of months. We have Green Bank of New York. It is a state bank specifically mandated to support what I'm doing. And we started those discussions, I guess, in June of this year. So tomorrow, we're hoping that we've got a meeting with them tomorrow so that they better understand how they might be able to support us over with well-placed debt as we move forward. Bottom line on this, we're negotiating a lease as well, iPark 87. And it's the old IBM site in Kingston. And I'm also negotiating that over the next couple of days. So we've been very busy, but what we're doing is taking a long view of this, okay? We're not going to be manufacturing anything till probably first quarter of 2024. The building that we want to go in on the iPark site it's another 5 months of remediation, right? So it just takes time. So we're focused on continuing to develop our tech so that we can have a product in the market and be ready for the production sooner as opposed to later. So that's kind of where we're at. I would expect that we'll start hiring if we conclude this lease this week, probably second, third quarter of this year. And we will ramp up over 5 years. This is not a big investment next year. We're going to ramp it up, and we're looking at innovative ways to ensure that we are able to have a very healthy capital stack that doesn't really dilute our investor base. So we got a lot of stuff going on here right now. So that's where we're at.
Fantastic, Ron. Incredible story and advancement that you've made over the last couple of years. I'm sure that we're going to be reading a lot more about you in newspapers and online and in your news releases itself. So Ron, best of luck for your balance of the trip in New York. I know you won't be able to be available for the next couple of days, but we're going to replay this with your permission and
Yes,
make sure that we send anybody with questions to your investor relations department. And again, congratulations on all the hard work that you and the management team and board are doing.
Yeah, no, look, thanks a lot. And thanks to Zimtu. Zimtu believed in this company when others didn't. And they've stuck with us. So thank you for giving us this opportunity, Zimtu.
Thanks, Ron. Have a great day. Could I have, we're going to skip.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's another opportunity that you would not be expecting here. We've been talking mining exploration all morning, and Justin Crone, pleasure to see you again. Thank you for joining us. Something completely different. We're all going to be questioning what the heck does he have beside him?
How crazy looking board. What you're looking at actually came out of your business, came out of the mining business, believe it or not. I was VP of IR for Commerce. I was in IR for many mining companies. This product was in development about 9 years ago. And all of the shareholders that I was speaking to, and you get to know your shareholders well, they're like, consistently, you can take that public. And as this story grew, and as you know, as you may come to see, it is actually a much bigger story than what you might think. The capital needs to become bigger and bigger, and we realized it's go public. And so we did a deal with Dave.
I need to announce the name clearly. SWMBRD. And we fondly refer to the brothers as birds. So if you ever say, where's the bird? The bird is the word, it's here. So Justin,
to make sure also a bird. And
yes.
that issue of that name is a huge story, which I won't get into here, but it is not an innocent little name. It is a strategic victory. You cannot put swimboard on a product. And we are the only true swimboard. By calling the company SWMBRD and by spelling it that way, it causes a confusion between the two names, which is working in our favor. We are and ultimately will be the true swim board. What you're looking at is a party board. So to explain that the closest thing that you can think of right now in the world that is as relative as a flat boogie board that you've probably used in the waves in Mexico or Hawaii or in the pool. Now those boards were optimized when it came out of the surf industry. And that's where it stopped. The surf industry had no interest in trying to cater to the flat water market. And yet the majority of human beings recreate in flat water. The pool, the Mediterranean, the Caribbean, most big resorts are not where there's big waves. You go to a Caribbean resort, they want no waves. They don't want their guests drowning, snorkeling, scuba, that kind of stuff. The waves are the cherry on the top. This board was reverse engineered for flat water. That's why you should pay attention. It's the only body board, optimized for human performance in flat water. Having said that, it's better on a wave than a bodyboard. It's better than the bodyboard. But the market is so much bigger for this product. It will transform the Canadian summer. It will transform the trip to the Mediterranean. Why is the time, and the timing is really important right now. This board on Wednesday will begin to be shown at the BC Boat Show. 35,000 people. It's a major boat show. And it will begin, and that will mark the beginning of an endless series of trade shows that this board is going to be seen at. When this board goes to a trade show, we had one small one on Vancouver Island with lots of mining shows. JB will testify. Everyone stops to look. So if you look at our stock, which is a ticker symbol SWIM, and which is sitting at the most beautiful spot for a new shareholder right now, 4 cents. It's gone through the same rigors that all the other stocks are. But the difference is this stock is about to get tens of thousands of eyes per month, 1-to-1. When we're done here, I invite you all, please, to come and join us in the office. There's lots of videos. There's much more to the story. But in terms of a fast-moving, dynamic stock and story to back, this is the one.
Now, you've just mentioned about this product being showcased in front of tens of thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands of possible investors.
Yep.
But you're also talking about buyers now, because my understanding is you guys have now had your first shipment of production.
Yes.
Can you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. As Jason, the very first container of for sale boards has left Europe and is on its way here. They're made in France. So that first batch is about to arrive in the Canadian market. You'll be able to buy a board starting in March. Actually, well, you can buy the board starting on Wednesday, but you'll receive the board in March. And from that point on, any buyer online in 3 days will have that board to their home in Canada. So revenues is what we have, a double whammy of starting revenues and huge market investor exposure. You look at the demographic that goes to this boat show, a huge number of those guys will be investors. The Toronto Outdoor Recreation Show, you tell me how many of those people are going to be investors. Vancouver Outdoor Recreation Show, for sure. You know, so
Justin, you've given us something to look at. It's going to be core. We've got Nicholas Broadway sitting ready and poised to share the good news. Everything core. All right. And Nick, we had a chance to talk a little bit this morning. You've managed to do a fantastic job over the last 2 years of taking a couple of prospectors' opportunities laden with your on the ground boots and review, and parlayed that into somewhat of a discovery of a very, very unique type of deposit. So I'm going to just allow you to share really, quite frankly, the opportunity as it pertains to you as CEO, but also for all the benefit of the shareholders of what's been going on, and maybe just talk about the next 6 months, because I know that you have an incredible amount of results to come. So with that, Nick.
Yeah. So the project was started back in 2018 privately, and it was a very small land area. And there was one little bit of information that was in the area up near Atwin, BC. That's what brought me up there. And then once I set out of the helicopter, I knew that there was more to the story than what was looked at in the past. And it's all due to glacial retreation up there. So our property was a couple square kilometers, and now it's over 1,100 square kilometers, one of the largest contiguous land packages in BC. And it's a discovery story. So it's a carbonate replacement style system with a porphyry feeding it. Our first drill holes ever on the property were this last year in 2022. And we have about 10% of our results out to the market so far. And we did connect with the carbonate replacement deposit over 2 kilometer distance with our drill pads. And we had some some of the highest grade intercepts on the CRD in Canada ever, including there's a 2 meter intercept of about 50% combined metal, 25% lead, 24% zinc, half a gram gold, 1,100 grams silver, and there's also a 0.5% copper in there. So we have 5 metals in our CRD, and the CRD is exposed over 250 areas within a 6.6 by 1.8 kilometer radius. And they were all mapped personally by me, and we've drilled 2 of them so far and hit on both of them. And then we also hit a molybdenum bearing and copper bearing porphyry. We hit it at about 30 meters depth and all the way to the end of the hole, which was around 500 meters. So this year now we're going to go back in and we're going to start doing more targeted exploration now that we know the structure and the plumbing of the CRD. And we're planning a 5,000 meter program, which will get us, so that'll be about $3 million for that. And we're raising that money as we speak through a charitable flow through financing. And that's Cole's notes, but again, it's discovery story, very early stage, but the confidence has gone up extremely much higher now since we drilled it. It was just, tangible metal at surface, and now we actually hit our highest grade sample out of anything in drill core, and it's been connected 2 times now, 2 kilometers apart. So we know the system is very, very large, and now it's about displaying continuity.
Sure. Wonderful. And speak to maybe the type of investors you've attracted. I know Zimtu obviously helped you start this company, so I'm sure they're a large shareholder. Have you attracted some institutional interest? And I'm sure you're possibly even in the market yourself, but maybe just address that.
Yeah, so Zimtu is a 10% ownership of the company. We also have Crescat Capital owns 19.9%, and then management owns 25%. Altogether, it's about 50% owned by those entities I just named, and I own a large share in the company as well, which I paid for in the open market and through private placements. I own about 5.5 million shares of the company now.
Terrific. Well, I'm sure there's a great deal of information flow to come. If you want to follow along, Core Assets have a terrific website, and you have an investor relations team, I'm sure, ready to answer any questions you have. The audience, that is, and feel free to grab Nick outside in the lobby if you want to have a one-on-one opportunity to speak to a guy that's made a major discovery that I think is going to go a long way from where it is today still.
Yeah, we do have the core, some of the samples of the core in my office as well, if you want to look at the rocks. But
yeah, for those rock heads, I highly recommend it. It's terrific. Thank you very much for your time, Nick. Yes, next on the docket, we're going to invite somebody who's very familiar with diamond exploration. They used to say a woman's best friend. I hope it still is, but we're going to invite Pat Powers up to address Arctic Star and where we're at with that company. It's been very much on the forefront of diamond exploration for a long time. The diamond exploration game, Pat, it's not a fast turn, is it?
It's not a fast turn, but ultimately, when you look at any industry, you look at the commodity price, and if you look at that, diamonds is the place to be. It's trading within 10% of its highest value in its history. So the problem is there's just not a lot of people familiar with what a good result and a bad result, because no one's in diamond exploration anymore. So that's our biggest challenge. We've got 2 great projects that we pursue, and one's in Canada, Northwest Territories. The other's in Finland. We've got great results on both. We're progressing really well in the one in Canada, which has got 2 major discoveries in it that we're trying to prove out right now, and that's happening as we speak. And yeah, it's really exciting to be up there. We've got a great team involved, Buddy Doyle, Chuck Fipke, everyone in the diamond world kind of works with us, and we kind of know everybody in the diamond world, especially the exploration side. So it's a bit of a challenge because of the lack of knowledge with the investing community. But other than that, the results are excellent. And the price of the commodity is stellar.
And speak to those results. You had some news releases out in the last couple of quarters that really spoke to, I guess, some of the results that you were working on, and they've resulted in, I think, a little bit of, for me, you have to have a bit better pedigree in education on what you're looking for. Help us understand, because I believe Buddy Doyle has represented the results as very good, but I would love to hear you kind of encapsulate it in a way that the average person would understand.
Okay, so that's exactly what we have to do, this small education, but we have two major discoveries up there. One of them is called Sequoia, and it's probably the largest intrusion ever found in Lac de Gras, which is a good thing because it's got tonnage. Secondly, it represents really the best chemistry. Chuck does our chemistry for us. 50 does chemistry for us out of his clone lab. It's the best type 2 diamond chemistry that he's ever seen. So Lucara, all those big clear white diamonds, that's the same chemistry, and Sequoia offers that. And we've got, out of the diamonds we found there, which is roughly the first year we found like 600 diamonds, 98% of them are clear whites. And that's unusual because when Buddy found Diavik, 30% of A154, his best pipe in that mine scenario, 30% were clear white. The rest were either off color or port. So it's true to its chemistry. It's a huge intrusion. We're drilling 15 holes this year. We want to find a sweet spot for a bulk sample because that's going to be our major thing in that pipe. And on the flip side, we found another pipe called Arbutus, which is right beside a very interesting pipe that the Beers hit back in the day, in the 90s. They put 7 holes into it. The most holes they put into that entire property, which they had before we did. They had it for 22 years. So we picked it up after they dropped it. We went back, we found 6 new intrusions. One of them is Arbutus. It's got really traditional Lac de Gras chemistry, G10 chemistry. And then Chuck does a chemistry as well. And he's, he found a Cotty. He's got some of them. He did really well on that. And he has an understanding of chemistry of diamonds very well. We've got, in his words, the best chemistry for G10 chemistry in Lac de Gras. So that we're going to pursue as well. So Finley and Arbutus, which are very close physically together, and probably at depth they're connected, has great chemistry. So that's going to occupy our drilling between Arbutus, Finley, and Sequoia. Sequoia will lead to a bulk sample next year. And hopefully we'll get 1 year past that into Arbutus and Finley for the same.
Fantastic. So how's the market treating you?
Oh, the market's tough. I mean, most people just don't understand the results we put out, and that's understandable because that's a thing of the 90s and part of the 2000s. But our big thing is we're re-educating people. So most of the things we do are talking to people about what's a good result, what's a bad result. But the final analysis is like you're in gold or you're in silver or you're in any commodity because the commodity is worth something. And diamonds are worth a ton right now. We're right beside 2 mines that are dying for feed. We're not going to build a mine. We're going to package it up as an ore body, put a price tag on it and sell it. We've already had discussions with people that are involved in those 2 things. And that will happen with us progressing through probably feasibility. So that's what we've got.
Wonderful, Pat. Well, I appreciate you sticking around to do the second half of the day's show. Thanks very much again for your time. I know Arctic Star. Sure. What sort of question?
So where was the property again?
So our property, our Diagra property is 27 Ks east of Cotty and 35 Ks southwest of Diavik. So it's right on the border of both the mines that exist right now. Those mines have been in production since the 90s. And they're really struggling for feed. Diavik's scheduled to close actually because they don't have enough pipes to feed it anymore. So our plan is to feed them with new material so we don't have to build a mine. That'll turn our shareholders into money in about 2 years compared to trying to permit a mine is 10 years of excruciating pain. And the shareholders don't benefit till down the road, but this is package it up and sell it as a parcel.
And like Canada is known for diamond discoveries and qualities. I don't remember all the names.
Canadian diamonds sell for 20% higher than anybody else's diamonds
and because
on the
it's
planet.
ethical diamond mining.
Partly ethical, partly clear. They've got a really high quality, and that's the whole thing about when you can take gold anywhere on the planet, melt it down and sell it for X amount per ounce because that's how gold is done. Each deposit, you have to look at every diamond and find out the quality of the diamond, and it's a different process. So Canadian diamonds have a high quality, And therefore, plus the fact they're ethical, they self-mine.
And would you say there's anything else comparable in the world at the moment, like mines? Like, I know Africa was for a while big on, I don't know, remember if it's diamond or precious stones or Siberia or whatever. So could you say something about
So
competition?
Russia produces traditionally 40% of the stones on the earth.
Yeah.
Africa produces 40%. Canada produces about 20%, and there's sparse around South America, like not worth mentioning. So those are your three producers. Russia, with the unfortunate things that are happening there, is quasi off the scale right now, although a lot of diamonds seep through. That's a fact. It's South Africa is the history of diamonds, really. All the deposits there are running low. Botswana is a big producer. They're getting small. There's no new mines coming on. So there's a huge demand. We don't want the demand to get so much more than the supply because it actually put out prices everybody. Because it's not those big diamonds that actually make you the money. It's the engagement diamonds, the 1, 2, 3 carats. And that's what the world does. That's what Asia has come on into that market in the last 10, 15 years. But if you outprice that, that's a problem. So you need supply.
Yeah.
And we're all about supply. We're not about being the next mine. We want to be the next ore body, as I said.
And this is speaking of like engagement in the lab, like now they're coming up with all these lab, what they call them, lab created diamonds and whatever. So how is that, so you think, affecting that?
Okay, so I'll draw a parallel to that.
Issue.
The parallel to that is rubies. So rubies are actually more precious than diamonds.
Rubies, yes.
Rubies have had synthetic rubies for 50 years. They are two separate markets. They don't coexist. If you want a synthetic ruby, you buy one. If you want a real ruby, you buy one. And it's a 90% price difference. Diamonds are going that way too. De Beers is stepping in to make that even happen. They produce synthetics. And they undercut everybody else in the synthetics. I mean, it's a different market. And they're made mostly produced in China. And they're about as non-green as you get. Because the coal they burn to produce the energy you need to produce synthetic diamonds, because you're crushing carbon at like enormous pressure, is so ungreen. So it's a very ungreen industry.
Right.
So
that is something we didn't know. So thank you for education.
I told you I'm an educator.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Well, thank you, Pat. Pat's going to be in the office if anybody has a follow-up question. Obviously, a wealth of knowledge between you and your team, and obviously, godfather of diamonds in Canada, Check 50. So really appreciate all the hard work you guys are doing at championing hopefully a new discovery.
Right.
Thank you very much, Pat.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so that you don't miss another update.